Okay, we'll see how this setup works. It's our first try. I decided since I'm going to be eating so much all the time, long for you. Now, I have to be honest. I'm not really eating for enjoyment at this point in my life. I'm eating for a goal. I do my best to make my food reasonable and enjoyable, but you're not going to catch me being like a metabolic French toast, protein pancakes, or low top ice cream type of person. I would much rather eat exactly the food that's best and save, a cheat meal where I can have the real deal, the really stuff, as opposed to having some pale imitation. Because you can tell me that your protein ice cream is just as delicious as real ice cream until you're blue in the face. I know you're lying. And I appreciate everyone's different. I wouldn't encourage a normal person to eat like I do. So I suppose I should tell you what I'm eating. This meal is 10 ounces of 96% lean ground beef, 8 ounces of potato, 7 ounces of mixed vegetables, and 1 ounce of avocado. I mashed it up so I can kind of mix it in easily. And I have a Valentina hot sauce that I'll top on, throw on top of it. Um, so at this point, I'm eating 6 meals a day if I train in the morning, which I trained this morning, and 7 meals a day if I train in the evening. Just how my meals are working out. My first and last meal of the day are a lot of egg whites. In the mornings, I have 2 whole eggs with my egg whites. In the evening, I have 14 egg whites and 3 tablespoons of nut butter. So I think you can understand why I'm not too worried about frou-frouing it up. I'm eating all the time. It's just about getting the food down so I can make the progress I want to make. So I'm 26 years old. I've been lifting weights for approximately 6 years. With a gun to my head, I could probably give you an exact time I started, but that requires a little too much thinking for this point of the day. But I started lifting because I was recovering from being anorexic. I started lifting when I was under 90 pounds. I would like to hit 200 pounds this year. I feel like I look really small in the camera right now, but I'm blaming that on the fact that I just got back from visiting my parents, so I deliberately went off my meal plan. I just ate whatever I wanted, which wasn't much. Did a lot of walking. We did about 10 to 12 miles of hiking a day. I went to a nice botanical garden, Longwood Gardens, with my mom. It was great. A lot of walking, not too much eating. I legitimately lost about 10 pounds in the 4 days I was out there. So my weight this morning was 173.5 pounds. I wasn't super happy with that number, But obviously, I didn't lose 10 pounds of muscle in 4 days. I lost 10 pounds of whatever. I hate saying water weight, but obviously a lot of it was water. You're not losing real muscular tissue that quickly, particularly not as a creatine supplemented athlete, if you know what I mean. Oh, wrong tube. That's great. Really starting off strong here. But yeah, so when I started lifting, I didn't start with much of a goal. I was working at a garden center. There we are. Better now. I was working at a garden center, and I was working in the nursery, so with the trees and shrubs and the perennials. I just distinctly remember when I got hired in. Just remember I was tiny. My boss, the GM, took me out to introduce me to the manager of my area. And I just remember the look on his face when he saw this little teeny tiny blonde girl show up, because it was one of the most physical areas of the business to work. And I understand why he was disappointed. I mean, you want someone who's going to be able to physically do the job. I wasn't going to let them, you know, I was committed to being able to do everything myself. And I was doing it, but I was struggling a little bit. So I decided I was going to join the gym and get stronger. And this was around the time I was recovering from my eating disorder. I wasn't worrying about what I looked like. I was worrying about getting stronger. And just how things worked out, I walked into the first gym I'd ever been in. It's called Iron City Gym up in Michigan. It was the best choice of my life. It was this small hole in the wall gym. I wouldn't say it was a powerlifting gym, but it was definitely more of that than anything else. Poor guy at the front desk. I was so annoying. I asked him so many questions. I didn't know enough to know what I didn't know. It's his heart. I mean, he spotted me. He told me, he gave me all the tips I needed. He scared off all the creepy trainers who were trying to like follow me around and give me advice and get me to pay them. Because all I needed was just a little bit of guidance, and he gave me that, and then I learned enough that I could go forward on my own. So I just trained. I didn't have much of a purpose other than wanting to be generally stronger. I didn't follow much of a plan, which was a mistake. Um, so I did that for 2 years or so. And honestly, I was looking for ways to make friends because I am not the most gregarious person in the world, and I'm really socially awkward. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but I needed a way to meet people. And I found a powerlifting Discord chat that I joined. Ended up being there were some people local to me in there, and that's amazing. I didn't lift with them that often, but like I had friends like in person for once in my life. It was great. So that kind of pushed me to pursue powerlifting. I have to tell the story of my first powerlifting meet some other time. I've always cared a little bit more about the training than the competing. I've technically only competed in powerlifting twice. Never competed in bodybuilding, but that's what I'm currently focusing on. I love being strong, but after I've been training for a few years, all these women were just so jacked. I wanted to be that. I mean, really, I want it all. I want to be strong, huge. I want to be the biggest and strongest ever. But unless you are incredibly genetically gifted, and even if you are, there's some, choose one. You can be good at both, but it's hard to be good at both at the same time in the beginning. Right now, I'm focusing on bodybuilding. I wouldn't call myself a bodybuilder because I've never competed, but I do like to think I live the lifestyle, obviously. So yeah, the goal is to hit about 200 pounds before Christmas, hold that weight, maybe hit 200 pounds before Thanksgiving actually, then hold that weight until Christmas, and then start cutting down so I can do a bodybuilding show sometime in April. It's always sad to think how much weight I'd have to lose for a prep though, because even if I get up to about 200 pounds, obviously, no matter how lean you stay, the majority of that is not going to be muscle. It's unrealistic to think it will be. The only time you're going to gain almost exclusively muscle is if you're brand new to the gym, or you're running your first spicy creatine cycle. And even then, there's always going to be some water and some fat, and that's natural. Your body is less inclined to put on muscle if you're really fat, but also it doesn't want to put on, your body doesn't want you to be super low body fat. You're going to be more your body is going to be more anabolic in general if you have a healthy amount of body fat on you. My goal is not to become ridiculously fat this off season, but realistically, I'm probably not going to be over 160 pounds on stage, which is sad to think about. I might cry when I get down to like 140, but the number itself doesn't matter. It's something that I have to remind myself a lot. It's something I have struggled with, making the transition from powerlifting or just strength focused training to something aesthetic focused. I love it. It's good for me, but it does bring back up some of those sort of style fixations. So I'm trying to keep myself accountable and be reasonable about stuff. I've realized if I want to finish this meal in any reasonable amount of time, I should probably take a few bites in between all my talking. I'm a pretty slow eater as is. Talking doesn't help. I've got both my dogs here at my feet, desperately waiting for me to drop something. Pretty good at not feeding them off my plate. but I am horrendously clumsy. So they just know I may not intentionally give them stuff, but they normally end up with a bit or two. It's one of my many personal failings. Whenever I went to the botanical gardens with my mother over the weekend, I thought the perfect photo op. We went into the left me. We're the exhibit with the giant cactuses. Like there were some century plant agaves, which were just, I mean, ginormous. Um, and then some huge. Why am I blanking on the name of the specific type of cactus? Whatever. They were giant cactuses, that were substantially taller than both of us, very impressive looking. And my mom wanted to document, our visit. I don't live near her, so, and neither of us are really picture people. So we were trying to deliberately take some pictures together. I thought that we had the perfect photo op. You got these giant boulders, got the giant cactuses. I mean, how great would it be if I just went like cavewoman style and hoisted her up on my shoulder and had someone take a picture of us, like me holding her in front of the giant cactuses? I thought it would be great. But she wore a skirt, so she wasn't willing to risk flashing everyone. I thought she could have just crossed her ankles. But what do I know? I'm a big fan of dresses. Whether dresses are a fan of me is a whole other, you know, whole other discussion. But anyway, I thought it was the perfect photo op and we just missed out. If my brother had been there, he would have done it though. Longwood Gardens was the first time ever I saw people actually like looking at me in public. I would say I'm pretty small. I'm 5'5", like I said, with the weight loss from when I was at my parents'. I'm under 275. I mean, I have abs but I'm not super lean. So I don't think of 172 as really massive. But we were just walking around and through, and I'd see a few people like look at me and look away, and then she'd like look back. And honestly, I have to admit, it was a bit of a good feeling. I've been working for years to try and put on this muscle, and it's been a struggle. None of it's easy. Anyone who thinks that you can accidentally become too big, like with muscularity wise, is high. No one accidentally becomes jacked. Like I'm pretty small still, and this 6 years of consistent work. Obviously, the first few years weren't so focused. The bodybuilding part of things has only come on pretty recently, but it's still been 6 years of deliberately trying to gain weight, focusing on my diet, training hard as I knew how to. I will say, I've only recently acquired a training partner, and it's such a game changer. Like I said, I'm not the most social person. So I have a million friends vying for the title of training partner, but a good training partner who's on the same page as you really can make all the difference. I mean, if you have different training goals, or you don't train similarly, or you both aren't the same level of committed, then honestly, it's probably not worth it. But if you guys are on the same page, it can really take things to the next level. I think I should just focus on finishing eating this, because I have a lot more meals to eat later today. I'm going to keep the camera rolling, but you'll see how much talking I do after this, okay? I seem to have misplaced my cell phone. It's really funny. So both my dogs are watching me eat, and one of them regularly likes to jump up on my lap. I appreciate the fact that if I'm eating, even if he's sitting there begging, he won't even try and jump on my lap, because he knows, since I don't give him food off my plate, he's more likely to get a snack if he stays on the ground. So even if I ask him to come up, like, Scuppers, he's gonna stay down there, because he's a greedy little boy, and he wants a chance to get all the food possible. I'm definitely not gonna record every meal I eat. I may try and do one a day. Kind of nice to feel like I'm not feel alone, you know? Get to talk to the camera, pretend cares about anything I say. It's honestly kind of a nice feeling. I don't consider myself tech illiterate, but I'm certainly not. I don't care too much to stay super up to date. Um, if I can figure out how to do so, I may try streaming a meal or two on Twitch. To be honest, I don't really expect anyone to ever watch this. I'm gonna post it. What's the harm? You can watch as my face gets rounder and rounder over the next few months, and then when I start dieting, when I start getting like cheekbones and a jawline again. Right now we've got a nice little chinny chin chin. To be fair, when I was 85 pounds, going like this, I had a double chin. I lack much of a defined jawline. Honestly, there's two major negatives about myself, physically. I have the world's deepest widow's peak, so does my mom. It looks like I have a receding hairline, but it always has. I've considered cutting bangs, but I cannot stand the feeling of hair on my face, and I sweat like a whore in church, so that seems like a no. And then my jawline, the just lack of much there. Not ideal, but you know what? We have to acknowledge some of these things about ourselves, and you have to learn to live with them. At least that's what I tell myself. What are you going to do? I had a phase when I was younger. List of all these plastic surgery procedures I wanted. I thought I would finally like myself. I got all this stuff done. Well, first of all, that stuff costs money. And your girl, all my money is spent on chicken and ground beef. But also, I don't think it really matters. Like, obviously, if my hairline was better, I'd be happier. I would appreciate that. You know, if I was a little, had a double chin in half the pictures that my family takes, that would be kind of nice. But it doesn't how I feel about myself. I think there is something to be said for. I think some of the body positivity stuff goes overboard and it's a little stupid. But something to be said for learning to appreciate yourself in all steps of your journey. Change. Why are you going to lose sleep hating them? I've spent so much of my life hating myself. Like truly hating myself. And I'm not saying I'm perfect these days. I have lots of negative traits. But what's constructive about that? I suppose I aspire for all of my self-hatred to be constructive. Like, I'm disappointed in how small my arms are. That's something I can fix. My pecs, not bad. I like them to be bigger. That's something I can do. Rounder, more capped shoulders. I can work on that. Bigger legs, rounder glutes. Those are all things within my control. I mean, I can't control the exact muscle insertions. I have a pretty wide waist genetically. Um, there's only so much I can do about that. And I can work around it. I can get bigger shoulders and wider lats. Uh, uh, draw the attention away from that. Bigger quads. I think bigger quads helps with most things. Other than finding pants that fit. My legs have finally started growing, and my pants have stopped fitting. It's amazing how those two things are related. I used to be big into sewing when I was a little kid. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until I was in middle school, and she was Susie Homemaker. I really respect her for a lot of, I mean, she's really successful in her career now, and but she was also just, we all have issues with our, parents and our childhood, but I'm always impressed by everything my mom knows how to do. One of the best cooks I know. She made a lot of our clothes growing up, all of that sort of stuff. If if there was something around the house that needed to be done, my mom, if she didn't know how to do it, she figured it out. Same with my dad, to be fair. Renovated. We bought a duplex to turn into a single family home for ourselves. And I know my dad has a little bit of background in a lot of carpentry, um, but for better or worse, he taught himself how to do all the wiring, all the plumbing. He laid all the tile. That one took some trial and error. I think we redid the upstairs, one of the upstairs bathrooms like 3 times because the tile got messed up. But there's something really to be said for that, for figuring out how to do stuff on your own. Dog moved to a better position to stare me down. Really has the puppy dog eyes down. I will say, with my food, when I give weights, I give raw weights. The only exception being rice. Rice, I weigh cooked. But everything else, I cook each meal as I go, currently with my current work situation, that which is wonderful. I'm grateful. But that means, if I'm cooking everything for each meal, it makes a lot more sense to weigh it before it goes in the pan so I can make sure I have the right amount then, than cooking a bunch and then having not enough or too much. So, you know. Come on up then. Come on, Scuppers. I always try and fake him out. I think I pulled a piece of food off the plate to give to him, but I've tried it one too many times. always struggled. Not always. I struggle with eating the last few bits of food on my plate, even if I'm still hungry. It's definitely a mental holdover from anorexia days. But it's one of those things I'm really trying to get past. I am trying to gain weight, and I weigh every bit of food that goes into all of my meals, because I need every bit. Here it keeps me a little more honest. Be like, oh, it's 6 little potato slices. What's the big deal if I don't finish them? But that's a slippery slope. Weigh everything for a reason. So we're going to eat every bite. Okay. Done? I'll see you guys tomorrow.